I'm in Gauteng today, visiting a deserted old mine.
Abandoned old mine building.
So it's not a mine shaft. I'm telling everybody it's a mine shaft. It's an old mine building.
A mine hostel, yeah.
An old hostel. And I love repurposed buildings. And I'm visiting Mark Taverner, the Moonshine Man, at his distillery.
Get your shine on.
Get your shine on. It's called Silver Creek.
Correct.
And the brand is Southern Moonshine.
Southern Moonshine.
Okay. Well, explain that.
Well, Silver Creek has got a particular meaning to me.
Okay.
When I was doing my research in the USA, everything is creek. Okay,
Yeah.
whether it be this creek or that creek. In South Africa, it's Spruit.
Yeah.
But obviously, a creek is synonymous with moonshine. And the making of moonshine. It all started with a good source of good, clean water. And Silver Creek resonated with me. I had a particular interest in a bluegrass band called the Silver Creek Mountain Band.
Okay.
And they resonated with my ideas of what the brand should be or could be. And I chatted to them when I was looking for a name and asked them if they wouldn't mind if I called my brand Silver Creek Moonshine, Southern Moonshine, and they said no, they think it's a brilliant idea. So I went ahead and registered the name because nobody had, and I own that name now in the liquor business.
So Silver Creek, that's the name of the distillery?
That's correct, yeah.
And then Southern Moonshine is the brand?
One of the brands, yeah.
One of the brands?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you end up here? You from the Eastern Cape,
That's right, yeah.
But we sitting in Randfontein.
25 years ago, I left the restaurant industry. I had 3 restaurants in Port Elizabeth.
Oh, lovely.
And,
on the beach?
So I've been on the beach, Cadillac Jacks. So I've been involved with American icons for many, many years. And then I joined another American icon. I joined KFC as the regional manager up here in Gauteng. And I spent many years in the quick service restaurant industry, and then branched out into consulting for the industrial catering business. And I've been involved in industrial catering for the last 15 years. And for the last 5 years, I've had my pet project, which is the craft distillery.
Okay, but why do I think you're involved in the motor industry?
Well, that's our history.
Is that
that's
the
our
family?
history. My dad had the VW dealership in Port Elizabeth, and my brothers still run it today.
Okay.
Tavco Motors. We've got the VW, Audi, Jeep, Suzuki, Fiat, Alfa. What more do you want?
On the
So that's
Dubai.
Port Elizabeth and in George.
In George as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you go into the restaurant business straight out of school?
No, I went into the motor business. I
Okay.
did marketing at the Technicon. And from there I went into motor vehicle sales. I won a prize for selling the most VW Beetles in South Africa. And traveled. That was my first trip to the States. And my fascination with the US has never ended from there.
What year was that?
That was in the 70s, early 70s. And from there I went to General Motors as a sales training instructor, and ended up being a district manager for them, for their range of motor vehicles.
What was it, Chevrolet?
Chevrolet and Opel, yeah, and Isuzu. And I was then transferred to Johannesburg in 95. And I decided, not 95, in 83. Oh, Lord.
You're jumping.
Yeah, in 83, and I decided not to take the transfer. And I opened my own restaurant because it had been a burning passion of mine.
Yeah.
So I opened Nelson's Arm Seafood Grill in 1983. And subsequently opened in 87, I opened the Anchor, which is the first pub in Port Elizabeth outside of a hotel. And then in 93, I opened Cadillac Jacks on the beachfront, which is a rock and roll diner. Yeah.
So explain, just for the listeners, in those days you say it was the first pub without a hotel. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
that
So in the old days, you couldn't sell liquor without selling a meal.
Yeah.
So you would have to have a special license to do that. And there was only one, which was Forries in Cape Town. which was an historical license, special license. And we were number 2 in the country.
Really?
So we managed to break the stranglehold on the hotels, if you will, and to be able to serve a drink without taking a meal, what they called an ordinary meal, whatever that might be.
I can remember when I was at Varsity, which was in the 90s or 80s, late 80s, on a Sunday you still had to buy a meal, otherwise you couldn't buy booze, isn't it?
Quite correct.
That's all gone
So
out the
all those
window.
days are gone now.
Now it's
you
just...
have to have edge-to-edge carpeting and
really?
and high-class glassware and cutlery, and no, it was onerous.
So it sounds more onerous than getting a distiller's license.
Look, a distiller's license, not a walk in the park, I promise you. But certainly, I've watched that movie. I've been there, so I was not daunted when it came to the 2-year process to apply for a micro manufacturer's license.
But at least for you, you also already had the premises, and I'm sure you had other uses for it.
Yes.
Because it's just part of your factory now.
That's right.
You've got a food factory, and then
multi-purpose this whole facility, and it's got a sublease, and it operates as its own entity.
The sublease is for reasons of the license, or is it?
Yeah, and that's the way that it has to have a lease. Any liquor license has to have its own lease. Quite correct.
Gosh. So that took you 2 years.
Yeah, it took a long time.
And
So the incubation period for getting into this style of business is actually much longer than you think.
Yeah.
So when you look at the development and license application, all the technical aspects take a long time, and a huge financial commitment and belief in the brand that you're creating. So it's not to be taken lightly.
definitely a different commitment to when I started my brands with my partner, where we knew exactly where to go in Kaya Sands and what flavor house to use, and within minutes we could have our mix of bubblegum tequila.
Quite correct. You know, my commitment to authenticity has come at a price. Because all my development work is done in Louisville in Kentucky, and I have an association with an American partner. All our flavors are imported from the United States, so our moonshine is as authentic as it can get, although we make the base spirit here according to their recommendations. The actual flavors and the methodology is all done in the state of Kentucky.
Before we go down that, because that's very interesting, tell us a little bit about, I mean, I see Harley's, I see Moonshine, and I see the Moonshine Man, but did it all start on your first trip to the States, or?
No, possibly my third or fourth trip to the States. I went to the Sturgis motorcycle rally in Sturgis in South Dakota, and we rode Harleys out of Denver, Colorado, and it was an absolutely wonderful tour. And I was attending a live concert by ZZ Top at Buffalo Chip, which is an enormous outdoor venue, and it started to rain, and I took shelter under an awning, and the stall was a moonshine stall. So I thought, I can't stand here and not buy something. So I bought a jar of moonshine, and then I saw how it was resonating with the crowd and how people were really enjoying the fun aspect of moonshine, because moonshine's not very serious. It's party in a bottle. Most of it is 24% alcohol by volume, so it's a little bit stronger than a sherry, but it's really good fun. And I thought, this is something I can take home. And I came home and started doing my research.
What year was that?
That is 2014.
Okay, so it's not that long ago.
15, I started with my license application. 16, I went back to the States and I went to study at Moonshine University in Louisville.
That's a lovely name.
It is, and it exists. Can you believe it?
No.
Yeah, and the owners of Moonshine University own Flavor Man, who are one of the biggest flavor houses in the U.S. And fortunately, I got on extremely well with the owner and MD, and he agreed to support my aspirations in Africa. And so they became my technical partners, if you will.
Okay, so 2014, this
The sojourn started.
Yeah. Okay, and have you ever had a thought of distilling, or was it purely to make moonshine?
No, I've always been involved in the liquor industry from my days in the restaurant business. I was fortunate enough to go on the Castle Tavern tour with the South African breweries. I was the first one to pour draft beer in Port Elizabeth.
I was going to ask
outside
because
of a hotel. Yeah.
there is a story that the biggest single castle draft outlet was in Port Elizabeth.
I can't confirm that, but I tell you what, there are a lot of thirsty people there.
But it could have been more recent than your time. It was on the beach around kind of. Isn't there?
Most probably at Barney's. Barney's on the beachfront,
that's the one.
Which was my neighbour at Cadillac Jacks.
Okay, so I mean, for you, you've been cooking, you've been in the food industry, so to branch off into the booze industry is quite natural.
My passion is creating. I'm a restaurateur by trade, really. I love creating stuff and pushing the boundaries, if you will, and that's why often people ask, why moonshine? And my answer is why not? It's a global trend that's going to come here with me or without me. So I'm going to try and own that space. We've got 7 different flavors on the shelf. And I think we've done a particularly good job on creating a unique packaging style and unique label, unique flavors. And certainly now we just need to get people to experience it and know what it is, because people's understanding of moonshine is that it's Witblitz or Mampur, which it certainly is not.
Yeah, and I mean, my first struggle was when I came across the moonshine is to the question, and I've asked you this before, where do we put it in the bottle store?
Yeah, correct.
Because it's like when I wrote my beer book, people don't go and ask for a beer book.
Yeah.
Maybe they do now, but they're looking for a beer book to brew beer, not to visit breweries. So
it's actually 2 different styles of moonshine. Technically, moonshine is white whiskey.
Yeah.
So it's a good mash bill of maize, wheat, and malted barley that makes a clear moonshine. That is the traditional moonshine.
And just to explain. Why do it even exists? Maybe go back to
if you want to trace the history of it, really it's the Scots Irish immigrants that landed up in the US and settled in the Appalachian Mountains in Kentucky and Tennessee, and everybody had a still, and they would convert the corn into liquor, and really it was as a mechanism of making currency. Because most of them were subsistence farmers, but they needed money to pay taxes and to pay for certain ingredients and things. And rather than taking the corn to market, they would actually distill it on site and take the liquor to market, which transported a lot easier and converted a lot easier into money, into real money.
That sounds like a plan.
When the powers that be started taxing locally made liquor to pay for the Civil War in America, that's when we had the huge revolt, and we started seeing G-men and moonshiners and bootleggers and running from the law. So moonshine really, if you want to analyze the history of the name, it's made under the light of the moon out there in the woods, where they can't be detected. But so with the deregulation in the United States and here, moonshine is entirely legal, long as you pay your tax and you make it in a facility that's food safe, and you don't make it out in your backyard, and it's licensed. Correct.
Yeah. So I heard, and I'm sure I'm stealing somebody else's words here. It's the younger, naughtier sister to bourbon, isn't it?
Indeed, when you look at the real moonshine, as kicking moonshine, it's a wonderful spirit. It's a clear spirit. You can deploy it wherever you deploy a vodka or a gin in a cocktail. And in fact, there are some chains of restaurants in the United States that use clear shine as exclusively as the base for their cocktails. Gives a nice twist to it. But then what makes it interesting is the potential of flavoring it. So flavored whiskies is one of the biggest growth categories in the US at the moment, and possibly it would compete with the flavored vodka, but it's just got a difference to it, and that's where the growth is coming.
Okay, so explain, maybe go through what you've got. You've mentioned the Clear Shine.
So, we start with the Clear Shine, which is our hero product, which has won a double gold international award, the Michelangelo Award, and then the brother product to that is our Charred Shine, which we then take our Clear Shine and we impart a charred nature or character to it. So it's wooded, heavily wooded, and it's like a good bourbon on steroids. So it's also 50% alcohol by volume.
Ooh.
So those boys that stick it with Coke or whatever, or just drink it over ice, and Americans call it sipping whiskey. They just put it over rocks and just sip on it and listen to a little bit of Led Zeppelin or something like that. Yeah.
Huh.
Then the rest of the range are then our spirit aperitifs.
Which is the party.
Yeah, that's party in a bottle. They're 24% alcohol by volume. Flavors like apple pie, chocolate, bonfire, which is the hot cinnamon, caramel, and we recently launched a Margarita Moonshine, which has been extremely successful.
Yeah, because we don't have that culture here, but in the States, Margarita is everywhere, isn't it?
Benchmark.
Bigger than beer, probably.
Don't give me water. Give me margarita.
Yeah, and then obviously you've also caught on to the gin thing.
Yes, yeah.
So
as a natural bolt-on, we looked at gin. We launched our first American-style gin, which was developed by our American partners, which they call a New World gin. Not bone dry. It's not a London-style gin, but a classic gin. The juniper, citrus, that cinnamon, the classic botanicals. And to follow up, we developed a pink gin that's just further infused with raspberries, blueberries, and hibiscus. And that has been an incredible success. Yeah. And that's, the brand is called Prohibition.
Yeah. So that fits into the whole Moonshine story.
It's the whole story. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the product, it comes in a beautiful jar. Where did you find that? Is that typical for Moonshine? Or what do you call that bottle?
Well, it's called a Frontier bottle.
A Frontier bottle.
But really, it's a moonshine jar, if you will. It's got the little ear on it, like the old Tuyaman Khan in this country. But traditionally in the United States, you can find moonshine in a jam jar, or what they call it, a mason jar, or that style of bottle with a little ear on it, which is the Frontier bottle. We started by having it made particularly for us in China. But then we found an international supplier, and we import them now from France.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reception from the trade?
Yeah. Also, they don't know what it is. Okay, so there's a lot of work to be done. We do a lot of shows. We do a lot of tastings. We do a lot of PR, a lot of press coverage, trying to take the brand to the people. But it's not fighting for space against something else, really, because it stands on its own. Certainly, the gin side of the business has to fight for shelf space, and we've been very fortunate in that regard. We've done quite well, and we're bringing up a new blue gin shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a blueberry flavor or?
No. It's our base gin that is infused with the Thai blue pea flower and a top note of rosewater.
Okay.
And of course, with the blue gin, it's got that funky reality. When you add tonic to it, it turns pink.
Yeah, and that's from the flower, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And is your distillery open to the public?
At the moment, only by appointment.
Okay.
We're in the middle
by invitation.
Or by invitation. Yeah. We're in the middle of nowhere, so it's really a trek to get here.
Yeah. But
we have entertained groups before. I've had motorcycle groups. I've had all sorts of groups come through here, but it's certainly by appointment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And it's in Randfontein in Gauteng. Yeah. And when did you officially start trading? I can't remember.
In 2016. We sold June 2016. We sold our first bottle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And where to from here?
Well, really, it's a journey, like all things are. We now doing very well with Pick and Pay as a major retailer. Takealot.com, also moving a lot of our product. We've just signed with Bottle Shop, and we're in the process of looking at other major retailers because we need to get to Bloemfontein, we need to get to Nelspruit, we need to get to Kimberley. At the moment, we're in all major centers, but we certainly need to get our distribution really going.
Yeah, and therefore you need the big chains.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay. And tell us a little bit about the story of the Moonshine Man.
Oh, the Moonshine Man. You know, I've managed to cultivate this ridiculous handlebar moustache that goes with my Harley Davidson affiliation. And when I was on distilling course in the United States, all the distillers had these monster beards.
Yeah, like the brewers,
and me being a senior citizen and mainly grey, I said, look, what I'll do is I'll grow the tash, okay?
Yeah.
And really, that started the thinking of developing this Moonshine Man story. And we're going to be pulling out that opportunity and having fun with it, because at the end of the day, that's what moonshine is. It's a fun product.
Yeah. And who drinks it now? Have you identified? Do you understand who the consumers are?
People ask me how do you drink it? I said, you drink it with friends. Okay, and really that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a shooter. Keep it on the ice. Drink it, drinking games, party games, around the fire, as an aperitif, as a dessert. The chocolate as a dessert after a meal is absolutely outstanding. It's finding traction with the younger set, the millennials, if you will. A lot of people who are having the real shine, the clear shine, and the charred shine are more senior. Okay, because it's a powerful spirit, and a lot of people, as you grow older, your palate refines, and they can actually appreciate the nuances of the flavors rather than just the bang.
And you don't want the volume.
Exactly.
Because you have to get up too often. Oh, well, it's been wonderful to visit you here. Finally, I think I started worrying you long before you had your license.
That's correct. Taking time, but nice to have you here.
Yeah. And currently, the stock is available in Durban, Cape Town, and Joburg?
Durban, Cape Town, Pretoria, Joburg, Bloemfontein, Port Elizabeth. Right along up and down the Eastern Cape Coast, because obviously that's where my roots are. And so we're from Port Alfred right down to Plettenberg Bay, and most of the bottle stores,
Okay, wonderful. So pick yourself, how do you say it? Get your shine on.
Get your shine on. Get your ass down and get yourself a bottle. Party.
Well, party in a bottle.
Indeed.
It's nice talking to you, Mark.
Thank you, Holger.
Lovely.